What factors should you consider before planning a pawn break? When you think about planning a pawn break in chess, you might wonder what factors are essential to consider. Let's break it down so you can make the best move possible. First, take a good look at the position on the board. Understanding your pawn structure and your opponent's is key. You want to know if the break will create advantages for you or if it might weaken your own setup. A well-timed pawn break should improve your chances of winning. Next, consider the placement and activity of your pieces. If your pieces are not positioned well to support the pawn break, it may not be effective. Make sure your rooks, bishops, knights, and queen are ready to take advantage of any openings that arise from the break. If they are not coordinated, the pawn break could create weaknesses for your opponent to exploit. Timing is also very important. A pawn break that happens too early can lead to losing material or giving up a strong position. Prepare for the break by moving your pieces into better positions and thinking about how your opponent might respond. Sometimes, it is best to wait until your pieces are more developed before making the break. You should also think about whether the pawn break is central or on the flank. Central breaks, like moving pawns to d4 or e4, can control the center and open lines for your pieces. Flank breaks, like advancing pawns on the sides, can undermine your opponent's pawn structure and create weaknesses. Analyzing your opponent's pawn structure is another critical factor. Look for weaknesses that your pawn break can expose. For instance, breaking through on the flank might isolate your opponent's pawns, creating long-term weaknesses that you can take advantage of later. Lastly, consider how the pawn break will change the overall pawn structure. The new structure should ideally support your strategic plans. You want to create passed pawns or open lines for your pieces while restricting your opponent's options. Be confident that the new structure will work in your favor. In addition, think about any tactical opportunities that may arise from the pawn break. Often, a pawn break can open files for your rooks or diagonals for your bishops and queen. Look for immediate tactics like pins or forks that could come from the break. By carefully evaluating these factors, you can plan a successful pawn break that transforms the position to your advantage. Remember to assess the position, ensure piece coordination, time your break well, and analyze your opponent's weaknesses. With these considerations in mind, you will be better equipped to make effective pawn breaks in your games.